Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining Experts Dig In with Doggies for Dementia. I'm Carmen DeValis and founder of Doggies for Dementia. And I have a wonderful guest today, which is what we're going to talk about are some resources, and particularly today about resources during COVID-19 and how some of those resources are changing. And I have Robyn Maniscalco, who is a award-winning author and speaker and founder of Wellness Resource Support. And I'm going to let Robyn talk a little bit about what she does because I think she could do a lot better job than me. Welcome, Robyn.
Well, thank you. So it's great to be here, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Thank you.
So Wellness Resource Support is a online community that we help families and caregivers to find solutions to manage the everyday caregiving situations that they go through.
Yeah. And so not necessarily dementia specific, but definitely pertains to people with dementia for caregiving, yes. And I got to say, one of the beautiful things about Doggies for Dementia is when families end up becoming advocates themselves. It's a surprise to them that they kind of have this new mission to help other people. And so I would love for you to share a little bit about your story, how Wellness Resource Support came about, because I think it's a beautiful story and gives us a little bit of hope in thinking about, what should we be doing? What is our calling, right?
So Wellness Resource Support was founded by me and pretty much essentially my family out of frustration because my mother suffered from a very rare and severe stroke, and she became partially paralyzed, and we had to bring her home for caregiving. And we were facing all kinds of challenges on a daily basis, and we weren't finding we weren't getting the resources from the doctors and therapists that that really needed to help us. So after doing tons of research and finding like little products and services that can help us make things easier, I realized that there were so many other families that were going through the same thing, and decided to create an online community for people to come together and share resources and know that you're not alone, because you're not alone. And there's so many people going through similar situations. Even though it's a different diagnosis, the situations are often the same, and the frustration is certainly the same. Mm-hmm. And we're happy to help people. If they don't see something that they're looking for, we ask them to reach out, and we can certainly help find a solution for their challenge.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And you saw a need and work to address that need. And I got to say, as a clinical nurse practitioner in my days, so 40 years, but it's 12 hours of focusing and keeping up on the latest research and treatment plans and things, and resources and learning resources were, that's a really tough thing to also know about everything that's out there for families on top of it. So it's great to have, I'm sure for those who are practicing in medicine, to say, yes, and I know who to send you to help find that information, because in a one resource hub, really, right? It's a hub with to give direction on where they could go to find things. Yeah.
Yes, so. We do work with medical professionals, and they do refer their patients and clients to us, especially when they're seeking things and they may not necessarily have the time to sit and say, hey, all these products are available. They'll say, check out this website. They may be able to help you.
Or to even know they're available. I mean, there's certain things, if you've got to know a little bit about everything and then a lot about your specialty, there's only so much bandwidth there to know all of what you do. And, when families would tell us, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take note of that, and, knowing where to refer and things. And so, I want to talk about COVID-19 today, because that's definitely going on, and huge fear around this, I don't even know what to call it. I don't even like to put the word pandemic out there, but this crisis that we're going through and facing, which it's just, you take already families and people impacted that are already feeling lonely and kind of isolated, and then you add to it and take resources are more limited than they were. What kind of things are you hearing from families?
I'd say that the biggest common challenge that I'm seeing with most of my members and people I'm interacting with are that they feel very alone, very distant, from, not connected. And that's probably the biggest thing, because that, as a caregiver, you already feel some sort of distance, especially when dealing with somebody who has dementia. You know that distance is just growing as the disease progresses, and then to feel disconnected from the rest of the world, and just watching the news all the time, it starts to get very depressing, and people then tend to, your mind starts to wander, and you just start thinking all these, very sad, depressing thoughts. And yeah, that's that distance.
Yeah. And resource got resource on the mind. Research tells us that loneliness and isolation is as harmful as, say, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I mean, it really impacts us emotionally and physically in big ways. And caregivers have a lot of responsibility in caring for people that they love, and to add that extra, even more fear on top of it is huge, and the isolation. And so what are like the top 3 things that you recommend for people who
So
are caregivers?
I recommend that reaching out, for sure. There are plenty of Facebook groups and online communities that people can come together. There are ones that are specifically for those that are dealing with dementia. There are ones that are just caregivers in general. And then there are ones that, if you are someone who works full time and caring for a parent with dementia, they have groups for that. So there's so many Facebook groups available. And I highly recommend that people go in there, because there are people connecting all the time.
How are they gonna, before you move on, how are they gonna find that? So let's say I don't know a whole lot about Facebook, right? But I want to find those groups. How do I find those groups?
When you go into Facebook, there's like a little magnifying glass, which is a search bar, and you can search for caregiver. You can search for dementia. You can search for, there are some, I know there's one called Working Daughter, which is for professional working women who are caregivers. There's Caregiver Support Group. There's Caregiver Resources. There's Caregiver Hub. There's Family Caregiver. If you just search for the word caregiver, you will find a ton of resources there.
Yeah, and I know from personal experience, people feel, or at least those that are sharing, seem to feel quite comfortable just putting it out there in this non-judgmental world that they have within that group, because other people get it, right? And have either been there or haven't been there, but it can still support. And I think that's a beautiful thing, because it's not easy, and you've got to have a place that you can just vent, and also applaud successes and get support when there are losses. There's a great value to that even though it's online. It's
Oh, absolutely. There's no cost to it, which is a great benefit. You're not, and you can, some of them are public and some of them are private. So if the concern is that somebody might see what you're writing, another family member, then you may want to make sure that it's a private group. And you can certainly ask that when you go into the group, if it's a private group.
I think it pops up too, because they ask you some questions if you are a caregiver, like in order to scope out who's asking to join the group, right? So some criteria, and but that would be important. I would think that the privacy is a key thing, and I would want that. I would.
Well, I one time was writing in a group, but I didn't know that somebody else that I was friends with was in the group, and I was complaining about somebody in my family, and they jumped on, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh yeah, well there's that. You got to know anytime you put something out there, you never know. Yeah, right. Yeah. Uh-oh, Robin.
Yeah. I had to come clean to my sister and be like, I was complaining about you in a group, by the way, if it comes back,
Yeah.
Well, but family, you're not.
Still your sister. She still loves you.
Yes.
Yeah. But as far as to vent and to say, how are y'all? I've seen this a lot. I'm if they're like right now, the loneliness and the fear of, can they even get out and do grocery shopping the way they're used to? And are they afraid of picking something up and bringing it in? Or maybe their extra caregiver help that they may have for respite and for bathing and things like that can't come in now, or they're worried about what they may bring in. And it has changed a situation to make it even way more difficult. And to have a place to talk about that and look at what other people are doing is huge.
Just to touch on the getting food, especially during this COVID time, it is amazing how many people are stepping up, those in this community, to help out.
Yes.
So if you are in one of those communities and you can't get food, or, because you shouldn't be going to the store and you don't want to expose your loved one, there are other people that are sharing resources easily, that if you go on there and say, hey, I need help getting food, and people have even shared public, like federal government resources as well. And it becomes more than just a place to vent, but a place to get answers as well for an immediate situation like this.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think the benefits are huge, and I've noticed that too. And I thought, how wonderful that. So when people are feeling like, I don't know who to call to help get me groceries, they've got other people that are helping them out. And and I think sometimes, the public just doesn't think about these things. So then they know too how to ask for the help that they might need and things. Okay, so we've got the online. Oh, did you want to say something?
I was just going to say, for those that are full-time caregivers, the public is now getting just a taste of what everyday life is, well, to a degree. Because when you're a full-time caregiver and you don't have anybody else in the house, you can't go to the store and get groceries all the time. You can't run to pick up you have to find solutions, and everybody else is getting a taste of it. And I'm finding that those that are not caregivers are reaching out to the caregiver community to help out, because now they see their frustrations.
Yeah.
So,
right. I can't say that loud enough. That was one of the thoughts I had too. I'm like, wow, now people are experiencing what it's like and have a different, because one of my thoughts was, what a terrible time to launch a nonprofit. And then I'm thinking, wait a second, if our mission is about to reduce isolation and loneliness during a time when people are experiencing it, when they don't ordinarily, it's not really a bad time to talk about it, right?
Perfect time.
Yeah, perfect time. All right, so we've got the online resources with the social media. How else are you guiding people?
So there are some apps that you can download and get subscriptions to, that you can get a licensed therapist that can help you by either video calls, phone calls, or even text messages for those that can't physically talk because there may be someone in the room and they're just having a bad moment. And those are licensed professionals that can help you through whatever crisis you're going through at that moment, or whatever feeling you're having. I recommend those to my members as well, because it's a professional way of getting connection, and they can help you through.
Okay, so our listeners want to learn about how to find those. Do you have that on your website? Is it part of your wellness resource support?
I do. So these resources are on my website, and some of them are also listed in, I have a caregiver guide that is free to anybody, and it's top10caregivertips.com, and they can go and download it. And some of these same resources that we're discussing are in that guide as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that, Robin. I can't tell you how valuable, and coming from one of those healthcare who wanted so much to help my patients and not even know all of what was out there because I didn't have the time to go and search it out. So how wonderful. So there's some apps, and I do think it's important, the mental health aspect. I mean, anyone who's on social media and things now are getting a taste. People are commenting and how important they're feeling depressed and down and sad and fearful and all of these emotions, and looking for ways to, what can I do? And there are ways to help feel better. And sometimes we just need to hear it. And oftentimes they're just like right here for us, right? But we don't think about it.
Yeah.
So there's apps out there. Anything else that you might recommend for families or for kids?
So there is another app that it is Dementia. Hold on, let me get the correct name. because this is a great app for anybody. It's Dementia Caregiver Solutions, and this is something that I've recommended. They pretty much go through it. It's a free app and it's a free download, and they go through 25 different situations that you might be going through with a loved one who has dementia, and then they offer you some solutions for that. Okay. So that's something that people have found useful, because there are, specifically with understanding why your loved one, helping a loved one understand why they can't really go outside right now or go shopping, and going places and communicating with them. Apps like that can help give you professional responses and guidance in that situation.
Right. Well, how wonderful is that? Because who would have ever thought that we would have a situation like this, that these questions would come up? So it caught us all unprepared, to say the least. Yeah. All right. It's wonderful, wonderful. We just wanted to briefly talk about some of the issues for caregivers around COVID-19 and resources, where to go and look for help. And so I'm so, so grateful. I have one quick question for you before we and I want to say too, the links are going to be in the description of the video and in the comments. So if you can't write fast enough, don't worry, we'll have it down there, right? Yeah. So Robyn, what do you think about on a long airplane flight? Where do your thoughts go around? That's just an off topic
for
question.
Me, I mean, yeah. I usually go to sleep on a plane because but I can come out.
So you're thinking about nap time?
For me, it's nap time. Well, because depending on where I'm going, it's if it's a long flight, my assumption is that maybe some time change, and I want to be like fresh when I get someplace. But I, to be honest, when I am awake on a plane, I'm just thinking about the things that I'm grateful for. So for me, I often am staring outside the window. I like to get a window seat, and the beauty of the sky, the clouds, especially if there's a sun setting, I just tend to look out and I just become, appreciative for what I have. Yeah, there's so much tragedy in general, but I can't wait to be on a plane.
You know what? I'm with you on that one. It's like I'm totally anonymous. Everything goes off, all the electronics. And it's like, oh, yeah. And, and I say that what you're talking about, looking out the window and feeling grateful and things, and that is a really good antidote for when we're all feeling so scared and uneasy about the situation. Look for what we are really grateful for. So.
But even if, even before this, all the times that I travel, it's so majestic when you really look outside of a plane window, especially if it's a clear day. Just the beauty of it. And not many people take the time to appreciate that. As a photographer, you definitely
I do
appreciate that.
Yeah. I look at I think I look at things a little differently too. I see beauty everywhere. And, but yeah, I have pictures in my phone of sunsets and clouds, and like, I don't know where I was even. I don't think I knew at the time, right, when we're flying. I don't know, we're somewhere up high, and it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for this chat, and I know you're going to help a lot of people that are listening in here, and the information will be in the comments and video description. So thank you, Robyn. We so appreciate it. And we're going to have you on again as a guest. We're going to talk about more deep into resources that not necessarily COVID specific. So thank you.